for me, and if this applies to anybody else, I know so many of us, it's human nature that fear holds us back. I don't care if it's good stuff, bad stuff, fear, which, is false expectations appearing real.
Mhm.
We usually worry about things that haven't happened yet, or things that we can all be in our creative mind with our imaginary audience.
Yeah.
But I had to get to the point where the fear of not doing something or not changing was not as strong as the fear of the regret. So the fear of regret for me was stronger than the fear.
So, what is something that might be holding you back right now? And what can you do to tackle it head on? Not wait, not skirt around it, not band aid it, and hopefully not live with it for a few more years. What makes it a regret for you right now that you can't get around that you really need to tackle? Marjorie Adams Fiore is with me today, and she's going to share how she says that you have to just deal with it head on. She's trying to inspire women in this next chapter to again squeeze the juices out of life, deal with your shit, and get on and get into the juicy life. All right, so today I have Marjorie Adams Fiore with me, and we are going to discuss the juicy life. And what I love about Marjorie, first of all, is that we bonded immediately. But what I love about Marjorie is she's all about getting your shit together first, and then you can have much more fun. So, I love the fun stuff, right? So I love the fact that Marjorie is going to help you really get all of it together beforehand. And I think you'll learn a lot by hearing her life story today about how all these little twists and turns that she had to navigate has led her to the juicy life. And then how you can learn more from her and join in her community, because it's really a great group to get into and be a part of. So welcome, Marjorie.
Thanks, Wendy. And I think you stole my tagline. It's like, get your shit together so you can have fun.
No, there you go. I'll let you run with it. It's
I think
yours.
You created my tagline. Hey, what's been so fun for me is I'm type A, if you hadn't noticed, but now. But when you take the time to prepare for something like this, and I did want to prepare so I could really get to the nuggets and try to have an impact on your listeners. But it kind of lets you see like this pattern of these milestones in your own life, which I think so many of us just kind of like discredit really important things we've gone through, or we don't see patterns that help us really kind of shape the second half. So I've really enjoyed trying to put kind of like my story in a nutshell to really pick out the juiciest parts. But it also helps you create like your evidence file, because again, we remember those milestones that were the tragedies, the bad things we overcame. But man, we look back and say, I'm a risk taker, or I did this, or I wasn't going to settle. And then it kind of like boosts your confidence. So thank you for that. But
you're welcome. But I totally agree. We're so good, especially as women who are achievers, right? These are all women who lead and are bold in my listeners. We are so good about looking forward and what we're working on and what we still have yet to do, that we don't take enough time to celebrate all that we have accomplished. And it's really pretty fascinating when you look back and start to put it all together. So I can't wait for you to share a little bit more. So let's just dive right in. So talk to me and share.
It's interesting that mine just happened to be on the cusp of the 0 years. So my first big internal adventure was when I was 29. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but it was when I feel like I really chose me. I had been in a short-term relationship. I had never been married, never had kids, and I was pregnant. And I was 4 months pregnant, and I got this job opportunity to advance in my current job. And I was living near family. So most of the time you think, oh, I should move back and have this great support system. Instead, I chose to advance my career because I thought, I know myself, I've got to be a happy person, fulfilled, and then I'll be the best mom. So that was the first time I really chose me to kind of take an adventure. And I wasn't like throwing caution to the wind, but I didn't know a soul where I was moving. I was moving to Marco Island, Florida. And I'll tell you, to this day, it's some of the sweetest memories of my life. I mean, I lived on an island. I had my first child as a single mom. I had just the community that, and I'm not really one to say I need a bunch of help, but if I needed help, people were there. So to this day, that was one of the biggest, the scariest moments and the most blissful moments. And then fast forward, honestly, exactly 10 years later, when I was 39, I was now settled on the West Coast with my son, still a single mom. But man, I was hitting on all cylinders. I was living in Southern California. I owned my own home. Things looked really amazing. I found this rhythm. I was in the best shape of my life. I was working out every day. Max was in karate and piano and all that stuff that the helicopter moms do. But I had this big support network, and I had a dream job. I was a retail buyer for a hotel company. So I got paid to spend somebody else's money, and I was good at it. So I got to go on buying trips, but I realized that once again, I'm like, man, this is just more of the same every year. The markets are the same, the vendors are the same, their showrooms are the same, the displays are the same. And I didn't want to coast. I had everything comfortable, but I'm like, I need something else. So I did what everybody else does. I got my real estate license. I was like, at this point. But you know what I said? I thought, I just won manager of the quarter at my job. And then I gave my notice. So I'm like, okay, peak. And then I'm going to just chuck it all. But I thought, I want a job where I can really be limited by my own potential, like see what I'm made out of. And I had a cushion because I had sold my home, but I sold my home. We said all of our goodbyes to Max's school and all the coaches. And these people had become my family at work because, you spend so much of your time there in your corporate job. But we did this big goodbyes, and we put my car on one of those auto haulers, and we're going to move from California back to Virginia. Okay. Across the country.
Cross country.
Yeah. And I'm going to sell real estate in a new area. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we get there, and because I've been from a big family, and I had always wondered, I'm like, am I keeping my son away from his cousins? They were all, he was the 13th grandchild, and my sisters had kids back to back. So we went home. It was like we were the spotlight because they didn't see us that much, but they could all ride their bikes and hang out after school and weekends together. And I'm like, why am I subconsciously keeping him away? I felt like I was robbing my son of those memories. So I thought, okay, we'll start over and we'll move back home. It was a fun weekend. We had a big family reunion. Then everybody went back to their jobs and their lives. And 12 days later, we moved back.
Moved back.
My things weren't there yet. The guy called me and he's like, Miss Adams, where am I delivering your furniture? And I'm like, I think I want you to turn it around. Are you going to charge me double? He's like, I've never done that. I don't know. But yeah, I've
never heard of that either.
Yeah, we moved back. And it was like I had been on this quest to make sure my head, my heart were in the same place. And I needed to do all that to kind of like confirm that that's not where I wanted to be. So it was a big move. It was costly. But again, it's just nothing is a life sentence. Like that wasn't what we wanted. We had our dream life in California. And it was ironic that the woman who bought my home, I had one of those, I'm more is more, I had a really big gaudy chandelier. Man, if it could spin and play music, I would have said, give me 3 of them. But I loved it. Big leopard red. Anyways, I knew she didn't like it as she bought my home. It was an investment property. She was going to redo it. So I called her and said, I'm going to buy that chandelier back. I want to get some stuff back in place. Well, she was a real estate broker. And she's like, where are you going to hang your license? So that alignment happened.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, it was so bizarre. And then 4 months later, I went on a blind date and met my husband, my now husband.
Oh my gosh.
It was just weird how if you hover above your life sometimes and you see that, people would say, oh my God, you moved across the country with this poor boy and then moved back. And,
right.
It's like, no, we have to do that. It's like, you're okay. You've got to answer those nudges. You've got to answer those callings and keep trying till you get it right. Like, no, I moved back and guess what? Wasn't the best move. I don't know what I was thinking, but at least I didn't have that constant nagging, like, why am I keeping him away? Why am I doing this? So
it answered that for you.
Yeah. So I moved back and got, really into real estate. And then fast forward, I was turning the year I was turning 50. I realized that, think of all the stuff I just said. There's a lot of anxiety, even if you're not an anxious person. I was a single mom throughout the whole thing. Imagine even just trying to do the arrangements to move across the country, the flights, all the coordination. And I realized I'd been coping throughout my whole life, my whole adult life with alcohol. And what had started as, I love to drink. I love bars. I was always very social. Everybody in my circle drank. And my lifestyle was really it was catered towards drinking. The events we went to, Tuesday nights, lunches, holidays. What else do you do at a 2-year-old birthday party? Yeah, who started that stuff? But I realized that, okay, what had started socially had spilled over really to become part of my daily routine. And, I was highly functioning. Like that means I'm a super drinker. Like, I'm an elite club of drinkers, whatever. It's
Right.
like, there's no
Like you get a
trophies for
medal for
that.
that one. Right.
I,
Right.
I had a lot of practice, but I
Right.
realized I was starting to lose control.
Yeah.
And for my 50th birthday, when I turned 49, because my birthday's in October, in January, I thought, okay, I booked a 3-week, you're going to love this, a 3-week, very intense fitness retreat. Now it was a very expensive and it was a big time commitment, but really I thought, okay, I'm gonna get my health back on track. I'm going to lose a little bit of weight and I'm going to reestablish and get that workout habit started. I could do that in 3 weeks. 3 weeks is what it takes.
Yep.
Well, what I was really doing, that I'll admit now, is putting myself in a structured environment where I couldn't drink. I wanted to get up and I wanted to kick my own ass every day. And I wanted to go to bed exhausted, kind of like a self-punishment, but I thought I was going to outwork out my drinking.
Yeah.
So you want to ask me how that worked out?
How did it work out?
It didn't. It didn't, because the issue was still there. At this point, I'm like, oh God, everything I want, like what is holding me back from my dreams? What is holding me back from my goals? What's holding me back from the way I want to look and feel and from having a great marriage? Because I am not a fun drunk. I'm not the funny one. I'm funny sober. I'm not funny when I'm drinking. And it wasn't
That's an
until
important realization that, I mean, that's a huge milestone.
Yeah. It really, throughout my life, and it just took me so long, because I'm like, as long as I could remember, in my early 30s, mid 30s, I would drink socially. And then it became a bottle of wine a night. Max could say, Mommy, Clos de Bois on sale. I'm like, should I be proud of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, he knew that the cheap wine was on the bottom, and we went to the grocery store, and if you got 6 bottles, it was 30% off. I'm like, oh my God, those are the kind of life lessons you teach an 8-year-old, It's just, but I realized, okay, I have to do the work. I can't just try to surface and work around this. It's the one thing in my life that's holding me back from, I had identified it and just everything except deal with that head on, handle your shit. And I had to figure it out. Like, I'm smart. I like to work out. I have 3 sisters. None of them really struggle. And, I have a lot of blessings and a lot of great things in my life, a lot of support, but I had to figure out what was going on, what that source was. And I'll tell you, Wendy, once I made that decision, I'm not going to say it was easy, but in 30 days, I flipped that switch. And I didn't go to rehab because that was a stigma. I didn't want to go to AA because I didn't want to find somebody who drank more than me and who was down and out, and I still worked and had a kid and everything was fine. I was very selfish, but I think that's my style when I'm trying to help myself. I don't really want to hear your stories about that right now, because I need to focus on me. And there's no comparison. This is a big deal in my life. So I didn't want, because nobody called me out on it, because I probably would have cut them off. But it was hard. My husband and I like to go to happy hours. My best friend and I always drank. So I'm like, okay, am I going to risk those relationships? Yes. To save my life and my mental state? Absolutely. But it was just so freeing. I didn't live with this big, dark secret. There's no more living my days in regret. And one foot is like, oh, what did I say? Why did I say that? And the other one was like, did I really drive with one eye open? I'm ashamed to say that, but that's my superpower now, because I know there's a bunch of us that cope with something. And we're just trying to fill that void of anxiety or fear or abandonment or whatever, or not knowing what we want to do next. But it's like, when I made that decision, the universe said, there you are, princess. We've been looking for you. We have all these gifts, all these opportunities, we just been waiting for you to get your shit together. The universe did say shit too. They did. They said it to me.
They did. I love it.
It's shaped me. Now I'm on a mission. I'm laser focused to make up for lost time. I feel like it's my responsibility. Like, I wasted a bunch of years being half present, kind of numbing out, and I've got to make up for that lost time. So if I can inspire other women to either shorten that path, it's like, hey, reel it in. You're teetering on that edge. And once you get on the edge, you don't have control. It's like alcohol is an addiction. I don't think I was an alcoholic. I'm not sure the labels are even important, but I definitely abused alcohol. I had not a great relationship with alcohol. And it's weird. Like, I had some serious things happen this year, and I can proudly say that out of all the things I wanted to do, it didn't even dawn on me to maybe have a glass of wine. Like, it's not even in my coping toolkit anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's stuff happens in your brain. And that also shows us how powerful our brain is. That, I mean, it's just reinforces that. And it's just, there's just so much beauty and so many blessings once we push through it, not part way, not around it, not trying to hide it, just
Or
let it come to the
Band-Aid it.
surface and deal with it. Right, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
So my whole motto is now, life without regrets. I'm not jumping off bridges, but you're kind of inspiring me to. Cliffs, maybe not a bridge, but
On a
maybe a
bridge.
cliff.
No, don't even need to jump off anything. No, but it's pursuing your passion.
Mhm.
But I want to highlight something that you mentioned because I think it's so important because you identified early, several times in your life when something wasn't right and you
Mhm.
trusted your gut
Mhm.
and you went, okay, I've got to do something about it, right? And you didn't skirt it because people spend years
No.
going around it or trying this or doing something else or avoiding a friend because they don't want to, whatever. And they don't, and they think by avoiding this little bit of pain now that is so much better. And it's so much worse. So to face it head on takes a lot of courage.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of tenacity because it's going, like you said, it's hard,
Yeah.
right? And you have to rewire, like you had to rewire when you're going to connect with your friends, even if you
Mhm.
go, eventually get to the point where you're okay meeting them at happy hour and you have, soda or whatever, or
Yeah.
lemonade, you just don't
Yeah.
care anymore. But that all takes time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
that,
it's just, the
that,
message is it's okay. It's
yeah,
your responsibility to be selfish.
and
A lot
happy.
of, yes, and happy because a lot of people and I've always been like that. Like, yes, my happiness comes first. I can't be any good for anybody else.
Right.
I love my son more than me. I love my husband, but my happiness has to come first because I'm the hardest on myself too. I know that.
Right.
But, I see maybe even in some people that I'm really close with, or one of my sisters, like they just kind of settle. They got to this point in their
Yeah.
life and they're like, there's no highs and there's no lows. And that is terrible. We don't have that contrast.
Yeah.
I did a little series on the 5 top regrets of the dying. And I'm sure you're familiar with that book. It was,
Mm.
it was popular. And just because that is like oh my God, that's a clue to how we can live our lives now. These people knew they had weeks to live. And they're like, look, here's the 5
Right.
things I would do again. Go do those. Don't be afraid to go for the life you want. And we don't all have to go on world trips and
Right.
change the world, but make sure that you're really being your most authentic self because you're living by example for somebody, whether you're trying to
Yeah.
be or not. You are.
Yeah.
You are.
And
And
I think
that's
that's one of the hardest questions to answer
mhm.
is what do you really want?
Yeah,
And then how do you put your pieces of your life in place to support that?
right. And it's
Yeah.
okay if you don't know. It's okay,
Right.
but what's even better is if you know that you don't want the way things are right now.
Yes.
Like,
And
and
I
that's
think of that like a bad wedding. You go to like when you
yes.
were, younger, like in your 20s and everybody was getting married and you go, oh, I'm never going to do that. Oh, I
Yeah.
won't do that. You might
Yes.
not have had a clear vision of what you wanted yet, but you knew all the things you didn't like, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like you said, that identification of things you don't want in your life, and by spending time evaluating then how to turn and where you want to put your energies
Mhm.
is huge change for you.
And I feel like I have a calling, like a responsibility to say, because at this point in my life, I mean, I do have a lot more freedom, and I'm like, I could spend my time however I want. I do still work, but it's like I really want to connect with women. And no, like they're not all down and out and lost. There's a bunch that are lost or confused, or they do know they want something else, but it's like, well, I don't really have support. And I don't know what direction, and it's overwhelming to go from raising kids to having a job to now, if you're an empty nester, oh, I don't want that much free time.
Right.
Or there's some of us that are already well into our second chapter and think we know that path, but we can still take time to pause and make sure we're there were 2 people that I had talked to, and they both had very very esteemed careers. One was a police officer, both females. One was a nurse. And they said like they had given 25 years and they realized just because everybody's like, oh my God, you're a police officer, oh, you're a registered nurse, it's like, yeah, but they didn't feel their soul.
Yeah.
Like they did that because they liked it initially, but then they were kind of so far in that it's like, well, everybody expects me to do this now. And so that's why I have this. My biggest mission right now is I have this 3-day interview series, this
Yes.
midspiration series that I've created called Intermission, and I called it Intermission because when you think of like a play or a movie, it's like that's when you run to the bathroom and get another drink. But in our
Right.
lives, in our lives, we're just going to take a scheduled break, even if things are going great, and step back, and we're going to hover and just indulge in these interviews that I have done with this diverse group of women. I have very few professional speakers. I have two coaches only because they're matters of the heart. I was so honored to be able to interview you, but I did this because all these women have overcome either amazing life challenges or they found their niche, and they really, creativity is so important to us in midlife. That's why I wanted to include you to teach us how to play and have fun again. And I just feel like this demographic is underserved. So I did this interview series just to say, hey, let's take a break. Let's learn, let's connect, let's inspire and support each other. And they're just 30-minute or less interviews. Over a 3-day period for like a couple of hours a day, morning and afternoon. And it's new for me, but I'll tell you what, the blessings that I've gotten out of this is I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I got to meet amazing people like you, which I now consider friends and mentors and part of my success squad, because, find those people that have those qualities that, yeah, I want to do this, and I need to be more confident, or I need to be more this. Find somebody that can help you with that. Find somebody who has a podcast and can help me learn how I'm supposed to be on a podcast. It's simple things like that where it's like, let me pave the way. Let's see who took the path, and mine can be shorter. I don't have to take 20 years to face this big dark secret that I had. And yes, I was brave and I dealt with it head on, but it took me a long time to get to that point. A lot of holidays where I didn't make great memories. A lot of vacations where I don't have great memories. Sometimes I have no memories, but we get a do-over. I chalk that up. Now I'm on a mission to make up for lost time. It's like, we don't have to live in regret. Like, we get one life, and we need to make it the best that it can. And if that means I'm the best mother that I can be, or the best grandmother, or the best just version of me, that's good enough. But it's not, none of us are dealt with the life that we have now. Nobody's stuck. This isn't as good as it gets. This is not as good as it gets. And average should not be in our vocabulary. It shouldn't. You should be excited every day. And that's why my group is called The Juicy Life, because, we're all thirsty for something more. Like, I want more fun. I want more. Now I have time. I want more exercise, more activity, more energy, more enthusiasm. I want to find something to be passionate about, and we're thirsty for something. I just thought that was Chardonnay for 20 years, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And now
you found it now.
Yeah,
not,
I know.
In 20 more years, right?
Yeah.
Because now, and that's the part I think I love about all the women I'm meeting, and I know you feel the same way, who are going after this great next chapter, whatever it's going to look like.
I know.
And we're carving such different paths than our parents and grandparents were allowed to go for, right? There's so many more opportunities for us now. And thankfully, again, most of the people in our community have worked really hard. Hopefully are financially a little bit more stable and can take some risks and try and get out and play more. So all of this, my focus is all on adventuring and really reimagining the life you have going forward. And I love how you've taken all these pieces when you look at it and how you've navigated your path and what conclusions you've come to at a young age. Like, I'm going to call it young age, because this is great, because you've got so much ahead of you.
Right.
And the fact
I know, I'm kind of worried about
life too.
I'm kind of worried about turning 60 though, because that means stuff's going to happen. Like, every time I get ready to turn 30 or 40 or 50, I'm like, oh, I got a few more years, but I better rest up because something's going to go down.
Rest. No, just do the opposite, because we're going to, just like, 50 right now is not at all what 50 was,
I know.
for our grandparents. So we're just going to redefine that next section, Marge. It's okay. We're good.
Right.
We're just going to redefine that one.
Right. But I wanted to talk about the interview series real quick, because, it was hard to go into it, because I'm not a professional interviewer, but I'm the type of person to be like, no, tell me how you really did that. Like, I don't have like, okay, here's my questions and here's my format. I'm the girlfriend that'll say, you're like, you really asked her that? And I'm like, yeah, I wanted to know. Like, when people say they did things like they came through cancer 3 times and had a tumor, I'm like, no, tell me what it was like when it was down and out, and how you didn't get into that pity party and be like, why me? And that kind of stuff, like the nitty gritty. And I wanted to, have a diverse group of women that you could say is my success squad, or she needs to be my success squad, but also figure out whose success squad you need to be on. Like, who's missing out on your friendship? Some people think their life's boring. They haven't really done much. Maybe you're a great listener. Maybe you're a great problem solver. Maybe you
Right.
can multitask like a mother, because we all multitask, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But as you listen to the interviews, I just encourage the listeners to say, okay, that's about them. It's not a boring story, because I could have just said, here's some books to read.
Right.
It's to be actively listening to say, how can I apply that to my life? Where do I see similarities to my life? How does that inspire my life? Oh, that's a little spark. I never thought of trying that. I never thought of, boy, her faith really got her through that. This person finally is living her dream life in Mexico. Like, she's doing the after, like we all dream about. You can make it happen. Connect with her. Say, how did you do that? Even with you, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to plan a big cruise, but what are some ideas I can start doing now to get some more adventure in my life? That's the kind of series that I wanted to have. And I got to tell you, I love it. And I could see it being like a quarterly, certainly a biannual thing, because I think there's so many of us that aren't represented. We don't have big followings, but we're doing great things, or we have great stories, and just be a great connection piece that I really feel like, once I dipped my toe just out of my comfort zone, because this is all new to me, and it's a big undertaking for me. And I had originally posted in a big summit that I had attended online and said, hey, this inspires me to do something like this for women over 50 and empty nesters and midlifers. And the response was overwhelming. And then I thought, oh, but I better tell them that it's going to be like the homegrown version. It's not going to be all pyrotechnics and big tech. It's going to be like, you're going to, at the local bar, talking to the band members. That's how it's going to be. We're going to have like that kind of more local feel. But that's what I want, like connection, where it's like, I can see myself in you. If I lived closer, we'd be hanging out. We'd be hiking together. We'd have, we'd be friends. But I just feel like you never know what that ripple effect's going to be. Like, I put my foot in the pond, and guess what? I'm talking to you now, other connections, doors open up, other things I didn't know maybe I wanted to get involved with. Like, you just take that. And if that's not what you want, take your foot out, put it in a different pond. But the goal is just stop, playing small, and stop wishing and hoping and dreaming, and not just taking a step forward. So that's what I really am hoping to inspire.
You are. And I'm going to come back to the summit in just a moment, but I also want to touch on something else you just said, because you were inspired, but in the one summit, but then you took that big leap of committing publicly by saying, hey, I want to do this, right? And you might have had a few moments where you go, oh shit, right? Oh God, what did I just do? I've been, again, a lot of the women I've met doing this and charting these courses, right? These new paths are doing the same thing. We're dipping our toe in the water. Yeah. It's not perfect. Right. I don't have, I didn't go to the Oprah Winfrey School of Podcast Interviewing. It doesn't matter. What matters is you took that step, you were inspired, you took the step, and then you started putting the steps in place and and now it's happening. Now it's going to be this really cool summit of all these really cool people coming together and sharing their stories. So comfort zone is, I think, critical. And I saw, one of my favorite quotes is from Eleanor Roosevelt, who says, do something that scares you every day, because again, it's pushing you to grow, and it won't be perfect. That's the other piece that, like you said, we have to get over, like, leave the baggage behind. Nobody cares if I say a little bit more than I should right now. It doesn't matter. What matters is connecting with people, sharing those stories, inspiring and supporting each other. And so I love that you've been able to do that and go from this, what did I just say I wanted to do, to making it happen.
It's funny. I had posted in that group, and then I was leaving on a plane the next day to go back east. And I'm telling you what, I had like 500 comments. And I was trying to record. I was trying to handwrite stuff, keep organized. I was like stressed out, like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest opportunity, and this could be the biggest disaster. But you're right. I pared it down. I got to make it fun for me, fun for the people watching. I just got to put it out there. I'll learn, because it's the content, it's the connection that really matters. Is my hair perfect? Am I saying the right thing? Do I say shit every now and then? Yes, absolutely. But again, it's who I am. I'm not going to be phony and be polished, because I want to get to the nitty gritty. And these, even though the topics that I have, I'm going to give you one example. I have a grief coach on there on purpose. And maybe somebody's like, oh, it's going to be a downer, but grief at this stage means this isn't the house I thought I was going to have. This is, who am I now? My loss of identity. It's
Mhm.
endings and losses of all kind. And even
Right,
though
a
she's
much
a grief,
broader definition.
yeah, and she's a
Yes.
grief coach, a creative, actually it's a creative grief coach and grief grief
I
coach
know,
and art
same.
therapist. Woo! See, good thing I don't drink anymore, man. I
I
could
know,
never said
exactly.
that.
She's not been drinking, everybody.
No. But it's funny because even though her topic is, expanded conversations around grief, there's so many life, nuggets and wisdom in there. And every single one has been like that. I mean, there is one that I watched them again because I wanted to do timestamps. I wanted to, and again, if somebody said, "Oh, I'm not going to read the grief thing," in the workbook, I have timestamps of what happened. So people be like, "Oh, that is more interesting." So I really worked hard to, make it worth all the interviewers' time and the listeners' time. But there's one again yesterday I listened to and I was just in tears. I'm like, how does she have that perspective about not what happened to her, but it doesn't have to happen for a reason. She said, this happened to me for somebody else, so I can be an example. And that is
Ooh,
a level that I don't think I'm at yet, but that was inspiring. So
wow.
we all need those stories because we all have those stories in us too. We just need to realize that where we are and where we want to be is really not that far, but it does require action. It does require movement and
Steps
use the
forward.
momentum of people that have gone before you.
Yep.
It's just, and we're not supposed to do life alone. Even if you think you're an introvert, we're not supposed to do life alone. So
Yep.
you just gotta, it's a time, midlife can be challenging and confusing. It doesn't have to be crisis. That should be the last thing that comes up when you Google it. And I'm trying to change that conversation. It shouldn't be Google and the first word comes up crisis. It should be, transformation, rediscovery, redesign.
Right.
We can do whatever we want with the second half. We can live another 50 years
Yeah,
the
we
way we
can.
want.
We can. We
Mm-hmm.
absolutely have the power to do that. I mean, science
Yeah.
is changing. We can take care of ourselves just like you've been doing, take care of our physical health, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual health, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we could be having great lives into our 70s, 80s, and maybe 90s and 100s. Who knows?
Yeah.
And the other part is that, and if for some reason we don't, all that we're working on right now is going to make the ending that much sweeter, right? Because we don't ever know
Mm-hmm.
when tomorrow is not going to come around. So
Yeah.
why spend it on anything that's other than something that's filling your soul
Yeah.
and making you happy?
Yeah. And that's why when you feel like you're restless or you feel like you're unfulfilled, that's all that stuff that you've stuffed down because
Yep.
you had to put it on the back burner because,
Yep.
you were raising your kids or you were
Right.
focused on your career and you didn't nurture your friendships. I didn't. You only have so much time. It's like,
Yeah.
it's hard to make friends. We're friends, right, Wendy?
Yeah, absolutely. I know, right, right. But it is, it's really hard,
Yeah.
especially when I know you work a lot with folks who are empty nesters. It's
Mm,
really hard if they've been, again, so focused on raising the kids and taking care of everybody in the family,
yeah.
understandably, right? And now
Right.
they're like, wait a minute, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All
So I'm
right. So,
excited.
okay, so let's talk a little bit more about your summit. So, because we're going to air this, and your summit should be, I think, the following week.
Yeah.
So it's May 19th, 20, and
And 21st.
21st.
Yes.
Okay, and it's free, right?
It's free and it's just going to be, I'm going to host it in my Facebook group, The Juicy
Okay,
Life.
Juicy
And
Life. Yep.
I'm going to release, right now, the plan is to release a recorded interview on the hour, like at 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Okay.
And they're half hours, so nobody has, and they will be recorded, but I really encourage people to be in the group. And if you have
Yeah.
comments for the speaker or questions about that video or that topic, or even aha moments, and there'll be a follow-up email series or a sequential one. And then I'll go on live every day in the group and just talk about the speakers that day. And if there's anybody that has a question or just to be available. So there's a live component, but I'm really excited about giving, the speakers a platform to share their stories. And I feel like I did a really good job of picking through what, I had to say for some people, I want to hear your story. Maybe we'll do an interview in the group next, but for this specific summit, I didn't want it to be entrepreneur based. I didn't want it to be just entrepreneurs. I didn't want professional speakers, like I said, and that may shift. Maybe the next one is all health focused or all
Who
something
knows?
else focused.
Who knows?
Yeah, but this I wanted to be diverse and like I said, I went through each interview and I'm doing timestamps in the workbook. And then I'll have connection if they have an opt-in or freebie, or some of them are authors and some of them have membership sites and things like that. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraging everybody listening, of course, on my segment, but then all the other segments, because you all get to hear from me more. But Marjorie's bringing together a really cool group of people, like she said, very diverse experiences, recommendations, and again, broaden your definitions when you look at her topics, because just like as you were speaking a moment ago about the person who's going to focus on grief, right?
Hmm.
It's a much broader label and a much broader discussion. So even if you can't fully tune into everything, have it on, because you're gonna learn through each of these speakers, and something you probably didn't intend on either understanding or wanting to take a deeper dive in. But our paths keep crossing for reasons.
Hmm.
And so keeping our eyes open and keeping open to the messages around us are just going to help further. So, okay, the Juicy Life,
Hmm.
Marjorie's Facebook group, and it's going to be not only in the notes with this, but I'll also have it in the links. I'll put it up on the screen for everybody who are watching through the video, but you can also see it in the notes for the podcast. And let's see, what else can I tell them?
Well, I do want them to register, just so they get the email sequence that'll have the workbook and a little prompt
Perfect.
about the speakers each day.
And they can
And then,
register where?
so my group is called The Juicy Life, but to type it in, it's My Juicy Life.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you search, because The Juicy Life, there's some other groups that are all about juicing, and I'm not. I'm about
And
just
you're not.
getting to the
You're
good stuff. You
you're
know, the
getting the good
juice of
stuff.
these stories is the lesson, the challenges.
Yep.
That's like what's left. Even when you have a something that bad that's happened, you look back and it's like the juice is what you got out of that. Like the either the support, the confidence, the lesson, the success, the win. That's what the juice is in the Juicy Life. So that's why I called it that. And it's got another meaning too. But
Yeah, and you're making lemonade.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Because you can, it's funny, in my membership group, which I'll be launching soon, I have a whole series where it's, you kind of like dump your issue. It's not a vending session. And then we all vote and whether we're going to suck it or slice it. It's like, we're going
to slice it.
we're going to dive in, or we're just going to suck it. It's like,
Nice.
I'm like you, I cut to the chase, tell it like it is. It's like, you never
Yep.
have to wonder what I was thinking or what I meant by that, because I'll tell you. But
Yep. Which is one of the things I love, actually. I'm a very transparent and upfront gal too, Marjorie. I love it. Okay. And I also love suck it or slice it. So that's hilarious. And for anybody, again, who's driving or just listening, Marjorie Adams-Fiore, Fiore. So you can find her. But again, I have links not only here, but also on my website, DestinationU.net, so that you can find it. You should have no problems with all these.
And my Facebook page is Dynamic Midlife. So
Dynamic Midlife.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
And that'll lead you to the group and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'll give you the links for everything else.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say one last thing that really, for me, and if this applies to anybody else, I know so many of us, it's human nature that fear holds us back. I don't care if it's good stuff, bad stuff, fear, which, is false expectations appearing real. We usually worry about things that haven't happened yet, or things that we can all be in our creative mind with our imaginary audience. Yeah. But I had to get to the point where the fear of not doing something or not changing was not as strong as the fear of the regret. So the fear of regret for me was stronger than the fear. So you've got to find what's going to be, I probably said that in a roundabout way, but you've got to find out what's your strongest, what's your why. Like, I don't want my Max's memories of me to be stumbling down the hallway with hearing the ting ting of my ice in my glass and having a slurred conversation with him. Mommy's juice is only funny when you're 5. Right. Not when you're 15. So, and knowing that I wasted my life, literally, like, I have this beautiful life, so many blessings. I am healthy. I have a strong mind, so many things going on. And to think that this one substance had control over me was wildly motivating, to be like, I'm stopping that now. Yes, it took me a long time to get there, but you got to make that decision. And it wasn't just weekends, just Tuesdays, just on vacation. For me, it's not at all. And in 10 years, could I change? Maybe, probably not. It's just not worth it. You weigh the pros and the cons. I'm not a, it's like having 2 Reese cup and you eat 1. I would eat both. I don't know who does that. If you do, we're probably not going to be friends. It's like, who brings a bottle of wine and has like half it left over? I'm like, how do you do that? It's a superpower, But it's, you've got to get to that point where it's like, yeah, I was scared. I was scared my friendships were going to change. And I was scared that my relationship was going to change and my marriage would fall apart and that I wouldn't be fun or funny. And it's like, no, that's actually the opposite. But then my fear of like, wow, another day wasted, another memory not made, another goal not met,
Yeah.
another workout ruined because I came home and drank a bottle of wine. Like,
Yeah.
you got to make a choice. But that fear of living with regret, boy, that is so strong for me now that when I don't want to go on live video, I'm like, okay, if I have one person,
Yeah.
you know, if one person comes to this intermission series and it's life changing for them, it's all worth it.
It's all worth it.
It's all worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's another step towards the juicy life and life reimagined.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, no, I'm so grateful to have you join me, Marjorie, and I'm also very grateful to just get to know you and learn from you. So, and it's really great to see you stepping outside of your comfort zone and taking steps forward. And again, I feel very fortunate to have you as a support gal in my life. And
Yeah.
again, more women supporting women and really redesigning and redefining what they want next. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And I hope everybody has a chance to check out Marjorie's work in The Juicy Life. And again, My Juicy Life on Facebook if you go to search for her, but come back, check all the links. And thanks, Marjorie. I will see you in a couple weeks at the summit.
Yeah, you will. Thanks, Wendy. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.